And the Bucs hope that this will be their first victory ever.
We have a great area, a growing area, in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakeland, and Winnehaven, and even Wachoo. Over 2 million fans, and it's the fastest growing area in the United States.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, live from Tampa Stadium. For the first time ever in a regular season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers enter the stadium with numbers in both the win and loss columns. The Buccaneers came onto the field to a wild standing ovation from the some 60,000-plus fans at Tampa Stadium. They did not introduce any players individually. The PA announcer said, "Ladies and gentlemen, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers."
Welcome to San Diego, California, Super Bowl 37. It is Tampa Bay versus the Oakland Raiders. Third down, 18, dropping Gannon, looking Gannon, throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 29, 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Tom Brady signing with the Tampa Bay Bucs tomorrow. Holy hell.
Everyone always says, why the Bucs, man? Why do you choose the Bucs? And it was a no-brainer.
Brady has all kinds of time, throws toward the end zone. It is a caught ball. Touchdown, Tampa Bay, Mike Evans. 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Brady to throw, throws a deep pass downfield. Got Scotty Miller in the open, makes the catch. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Super Bowl 55 will be underway at Raymond James Stadium. Here's the snap out of the gun. Play action fake pass to Gronkowski. He's going to score a touchdown. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Holy guacamole. Bucs are the Super Bowl champs. They can't stop the clock. And there the cannons go. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them. Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the 48-yard line. Second down, 13. Brady lobs one downfield. Caught ball by Gronkowski inside the 20 to the 15-10. Gronkowski to the 5 to the 4-yard line. Holy guacamole. Here's the snap. Pressure coming from the outside. Brady throws it back. Caught ball first out of the 50. Outside the numbers 40 to the 30-yard line. To the 25. It's Perriman. Bashaud Perriman. Touchdown Tampa Bay. Bucs win in overtime.
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty. Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
And there the cannons go. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Live on YouTube today. It is NFL schedule release day. And I'll be honest with you, man. Evan, I remember a time when this wasn't as hyped up as it is now. To be completely 100% honest with you.
Yeah, they've made it into a more of a event for television per se. Especially now. The way they did it, this year was they even leaked a few. ESPN leaked a few, Fox leaked a few, CBS leaked a few. Like they all did it like ahead of time, so it was kind of like a week of NFL schedule release, and it's kind of crazy. Like, okay, it's a schedule. Like you find out when you play. Like it's not like the draft or anything. So it's something that is sort of more on the fun side. We were talking before the show. If they're gonna do like a schedule release like this, I prefer they do it how they did it this year with like the leaks here and there. Like you get you get a few games here and there, not like the whole thing is leaked on one day. Like, so we'll see. We got about 7 minutes until 8 p.m., which is when the schedule's supposed to release. It should, I don't think, once 8 p.m. hits, I think they're free to post it. So we have a $2 super chat from Mr. Bucks Nation, our buddy James, getting the train started early. So appreciate that, James. So if you guys are here in the live chat, let us know. I am Evan Wanish. I can do my own intro.
Yeah, there you go. I guess we skipped the intros. Go ahead. Tell them who you are.
Yeah, I'm Evan Wanish. how would you say, a good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucks fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish of BucksNation.com.
Yes, sir. And I am your host, as always, Rhett Matthew. I don't publish any written work, but you can follow me on Twitter at Redicus, RHETTAKUS. I generally post a lot of Bucks-related bullshit over there. It's a special occasion, though. Like you said, I mean, I know the schedule reveal has become a little bit bigger of a deal than it should be these last few years. They've really kind of made it an event to get that much more ratings for the NFL throughout the offseason, but it still feels like a special occasion. There's always so many storylines to take away from the NFL schedule, and obviously for Tampa Bay, they're going to be playing a game in Germany this season, and they have got an absolute stacked list of opponents. We're going to break those down game by game, but I busted out one of my new favorite shirts, to be honest with you. Okay, so if you guys are familiar with our content, you know the channel. We have a series called Buried Bucks Treasure, and we basically made a series of what I like to do with a lot of my spare time, which is go out, hit up not pawn shops, but thrift shops, consignment shops, flea markets, things of that general nature to see what people are selling. And I happened to find this, I guess you could consider it a Hawaiian shirt, but it's from the 90s, and I found it for like $8, and it's an old Buccaneers. It's got the NFL logo, the Bucks pennant, and like it had to have come out shortly after the Pewter Power rebrand, because it's an adult large, and I generally wear a 2X. So if that tells you anything you need to know about clothing from the 90s, that's exactly why I go shopping for this stuff. But it's a special occasion, man. While the NFL schedule has not officially released just yet, we're about 5 minutes away. The Buccaneers have had some games leaked, and we have got some heavy hitters to start out the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. So I think it's about time we jump right into this thing. Really quick, let's check in with our live chat. Buddy Brian Shaw says, so far looks like an easy 4-0, but we'll have to see the rest of the schedule to see if the Bucks will go 17-0.
Well, we already know the opponents.
Yes,
we just don't know the order of those opponents. So if you think the Bucks are going to go 17-0, the schedule releasing probably won't change your opinion on that.
If you
the Bucks are not going 17.
Let me also put this out there. I guess a disclaimer to start the show. We're not necessarily going to be dropping any record predictions tonight. We actually do a separate show for that. The season prediction show is end of July, mid-August, somewhere around that window. So you're not going to get an official record prediction from us tonight. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't think the Bucks are going 17-0 this year.
I don't think so. If they didn't go 17-0 last year, I don't think they're going 17-0 this year. Not with the slate of opponents they have.
Yeah, and I mean, the Bucks went 13-4 last season. Obviously got booted out of the divisional round. Couldn't get the job done there. But this is a very good football team. And I think, just to throw a take out there before we really dive into this schedule, I think this is probably going to be the best version of the Tom Brady Buccaneers that we'll see. But with that being said, I don't think they're going to win 13 games this year either, because I know I've mentioned it before. We'll probably say it again a few more times before the end of the podcast today, but the table that they have in front of them, the opponents that they are going to face, it's tough, man. I don't think this team's going to win 13 games again. I think they'll get to the playoffs and obviously make some noise. I think this is going to be the best Tom Brady-led Bucs team we will see, but I don't know if they're going to be winning more than 13 this year. Your thoughts?
So what you're saying is that they may be the best team out of the 3 years, but the record won't necessarily reflect that.
I think so. I think a lot of the expectations this year, especially from Tom Brady himself coming back, is just to keep getting better, keep building off of what they've already put on the field. You get a Super Bowl championship in 2020. Everything fell into place. That's a championship team. They will always be immortalized as a championship team, but they went 11-5 in the regular season. And at one point they were 7-5. You know what I mean? That was part of the learning process of that team. So I think like 2021 was a better team than 2020, even though obviously 2020 ended in a Super Bowl championship, because once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. So
when it's a one-game elimination like that, anything, and then the Bucs being without Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin in the divisional round, who knows, right? Who knows? They also had, obviously for 2020, they also had Antonio Brown. So that's 3 big pieces that they had in 2020 that they didn't have in 2021. Who knows what would have happened? And it likely probably would have been a different result in 2021 had they had those 3 guys.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into this schedule for Tampa Bay. One of those guys is going to be a hot topic throughout the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, because I don't think many people realize he may not be available for the first quarter of the year. But week 1, let's talk about what is already confirmed before the schedule drops here in a couple of minutes.
Dumb. Just gonna say it real quick before you say week 1. It's dumb.
It's dumb. Yeah, you're not a fan of this move. So if you liked week 1's contest last year on Sunday Night Football, lucky for you, you get the same exact game, except now it's over in Jerryland. The Bucs will head to Dallas to play in AT&T Stadium against Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, a week 1 rematch of the week 1 game last year. And I also believe this is Sunday Night Football.
Yes, not Thursday night. Yes.
Why is it
two
dumb?
differences?
Why is
it's
it
dumb? Because why? I don't want the same opener 2 years in a row. Like, why? Like,
I mean, the last time we got the same opener 2 years in a row, I think the Bucs played the Saints week 1 2 years in a row.
I think there was a year in between. I think it went Saints. It was 2018. Yeah, it was 2018. They played the Saints. 2019 they played the 49ers. 2020 they played the Saints. So there was a year in between that. You know, like I don't know why. Like there's 17 games. Choose any of the 16 other ones. Like, why do you have to choose the same exact? You could have still had Dallas versus Tampa as a primetime Sunday Night Football game. It didn't have to be week 1. Like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of it.
Hey, well, come to find out as well, there was an article put out earlier this week that says the NFL schedule makers had to go and basically start all over when Tom Brady came out of retirement. So chances are the Bucs were not going to play Dallas on primetime week 1 of the season if Brady was not our quarterback. With him coming back, throws a wrench in those plans. But
okay, so here's the Buccaneers' full 2022 NFL schedule. Week 1 at Dallas. Week 2 at New Orleans. Week 3 at Green Bay. Week 4 versus Kansas City. Not going to get into those too much because those are already confirmed. Week 5, they are playing host to the Atlanta Falcons at 1 p.m. Week 6, they are traveling to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers at 1 p.m. Week 7, they are traveling to Carolina to play the Panthers at 1 p.m. Week 8, they host Baltimore Thursday Night Football at 8:15. Week 9, they play host to the Los Angeles Rams at 4:25 p.m. Week 10, they're versus Seattle, but they're in Germany. Week 11 is their bye week. Week 12 is at the Cleveland Browns at 1 p.m. Week 13 is versus the New Orleans Saints at 8:15 p.m. on Monday Night Football. Week 14 is at San Francisco at 4:25. Week 15, they play host to Cincinnati at 4:25. Here we go. Week 16, they are going to Arizona. The game played on Christmas, which I don't love either. But then they play host to Carolina on January 1st, week 17, at 1 p.m. And then they have Atlanta in Atlanta, the last game of the season. That's subject to change. It could be Saturday or Sunday, it says, and the time is TBD.
I'd be curious to see if that ends up being a Saturday game.
Oh, and the preseason schedule is August 13th. They play host to Miami, and then they're on the road at Tennessee and at Indianapolis.
Only one home preseason game this year. I know that's not a huge deal, but they had 2 of them last year, and I was able to attend both of them. It was a great time. God bless preseason football. It's an excuse to go watch the boys and have a few drinks as well. So let's get back to talking about this week 1 matchup. They're playing the Dallas Cowboys on the road. And now that the schedule is officially released, let's talk about the first 2 weeks of the season, because the Buccaneers will not play in Raymond James Stadium all the way until week 3. I mean, 2 weeks on the road, one of them against a division opponent, the other one against the Cowboys. That's kind of a tall task when you consider that this offense may or may not have Chris Godwin as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you're playing out of those 3, I mean, yes, the Saints may not have the greatest offense in the world, but Dallas, Green Bay, and Kansas City, all of them have some top-tier offenses. But even the Saints have a good defense. So you're going to need to score points in a lot of those matchups, I think, and not having a guy like Chris Godwin, potentially not having a guy like Chris Godwin, could really complicate things. And it just means a guy like Russell Gage would have to step up. Maybe they add another receiver here. Who knows? I think it really depends on if they think Godwin's going to miss like 4 or 5 games, maybe they do add another receiver because that's a long time. But I think I would expect Godwin to miss at least the first 2, probably 3 games. I think if you're looking at a realistic return for him, it's probably week 4 versus Kansas City. Not saying he's going to, I'm just saying based on what I think. I don't think they're going to rush him back, but yeah, it will be difficult. He's the second. I think there's games where he's the most important piece on offense. There are games when he is the game plan. They love to get him in those screens and his blocking ability. That's a big deal. And to not have him, you saw the offense, how it was without him. Mike Evans is a fantastic football player, but he doesn't bring the same skill set that Chris Godwin does. Chris Godwin doesn't bring the same skill set that Mike Evans does, but Chris Godwin, I would say, does a little bit, not better, because I think Mike Evans is still the best wide receiver on the team, but Godwin does more in the Bucs offense than Evans does. The Bucs ask Chris Godwin to do a lot in their offense, and not having him against some NFC, and an AFC contender, but also maybe some Super Bowl contenders, right? I mean, the Packers, Chiefs, like they're still Super Bowl contenders. The Cowboys are probably more of a playoff contender. The Saints, I think, are going to be a playoff contender. To not have him potentially for those first four, it could be tricky.
And it seems like, for a guy like Russell Gage, just signed to the Bucs on a 3-year deal, obviously going to have him locked up, but trial by fire as far as getting targets here in the early weeks. You kind of like to see it. Obviously, you don't like to see Chris Godwin not out there, but if you're going to make the most out of this new guy who's supposed to be your wide receiver 3, I like him having a little bit of pressure on him. I'd like to see him go out there, perform, and get acclimated in this offense early on in the season because, the Bucs are playing contenders these first 4 weeks of the year, but that's not going to change. They have got contenders all 17 games. So it's kind of one of those things where for Tom Brady, his comfortability in this offense is probably going to be the best it has been, but when you swap out a guy like Antonio Brown for Russell Gage, to a degree, there's still going to be a little bit of an adjustment period, and I'm curious to see how that works itself out. Week 2 against New Orleans on the road for Tampa Bay. I hope this is the game that the Halloween game last year was supposed to be. I hope, barring anything absolutely terrible in week 1, I hope we see Jameis Winston versus Tom Brady. It's going to be in the Superdome. I really hope this team is ready to play, man, because our season prediction show is coming up and people aren't going to be happy with your picks because I already know what they are when it comes to playing the Saints this season. But this is also one of those games where it's going to say a lot about this Bucs team early and what kind of shape they're in.
Yeah, obviously it's a huge challenge. And I mean, Jameis Winston, it sounds like he'll be ready. Now, since this is early in the season, you have to think about that, just like with Chris Godwin. It sounds like Winston will be ready. So I would guess he'll be the starter for the Saints. So obviously, it's a big challenge. They're going to want, this is a big game. This is a big game, big divisional game coming up. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens. And, injuries by that point, injuries shouldn't affect much because it's only the second game. So obviously anything can happen at any moment, whether it's training camp, preseason, even the first game. But injuries shouldn't impact things much. These should be two pretty healthy teams. If the Bucs are minus Chris Godwin, they should be healthy all around. Other than that, we'll have to see, wait and see. And like you said, could be the first, now you finally get to see, Jameis Winston versus Tom Brady, barring anything, that happens. I know people's feelings about Winston on the field, but you never want to see a player go down like that. So barring anything, you could see that finally.
Yeah, and you had mentioned it briefly, but the division implications. I mean, if the Bucs win this game, you're obviously 1-1 or 2-0 at that point, and it gives you that first step over the division. Because I'm not really sure what it's going to look like for Carolina and Atlanta, but I think most people can agree that it's either going to be Tampa Bay or New Orleans with the division title at the end of the season, and hopefully for the Bucs, they can get it done for the second straight year in a row. But let's get to this Week 3 matchup, the home opener, man. I am excited about this one. Early in the season, one hell of a home opener. Aaron Rodgers comes to town to play the team that he hates to see, and maybe we could talk a little bit about Ndamukong Suh because there's been some rumblings this week that he may not be back with Tampa Bay. But for the sake of this game, I hope he is because he seems like kryptonite for Aaron Rodgers whenever he plays Tampa Bay these last few times. But this should be another exciting matchup. And what time is kickoff for this one? I don't have it in front of me.
I believe it is 4:25.
Oh, it's perfect, man. It was the exact way that I felt about the Bucs-Packers game on the schedule in week week 5, week 6 of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Bucs hosted Green Bay at home, went on to beat them in the NFC Championship game. Week 6, you just said. So, yeah, man, I'm excited for this game as well. should be a primetime contest. I know it's not, but it should be.
Yeah, obviously, you can only have so many. I believe, 5, I think, is the number. So, yeah, well, this is just like, obviously it'll be a nationally televised game. Like, it'll be on Fox. Like, it'll be a nationally televised game.
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely.
Seems like 9 times out of 10, when you're running the 4:00 slot on Fox Sunday, it's America's game of the week.
Yeah, so I mean that will be the 425 game, but yeah, I mean Aaron Rodgers does not do well just in the state of Florida, not just against the Bucs. Just if you look at his numbers in the state of Florida, it's not good. Like, so who knows, And the Packers lost Devontae Adams, but I think their defense has gotten better as well. So that'll be an interesting balance to see.
Yeah, he crapped the bed for me week 1 in fantasy last year. He played the Saints in Jacksonville because they were playing down there because of some stuff that happened with that crappy stadium they have in New Orleans. But yeah, man, this should be a really good game. Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay, that was also a hot topic. And you look at this offense, you look at the firepower, or I guess quote-unquote firepower. You mentioned that they did lose Devontae Adams, probably the best wide receiver in the NFL at this point. What do you make of what they have right now? Like, this isn't I hate to dive into the game like this, but I feel like Aaron Rodgers is obviously going to be able to get it done. But if this becomes a game of who can score the most, are they going to be able to keep up?
I don't know, because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers still, they have Randall Cobb still. They signed Sammy Watkins. I think they have Alan Lazard. They added Christian Watson, I believe. They drafted him. So there's some, and they could add another piece. I've heard them linked to Odell, but if Odell signs, he's not going to play in this game. He's not going to be ready for a while. But yeah, I mean, I would never count him out though. I feel like, if you do count them out, that's when they'll come back to bite you. So it's just, that's all I'll say is that they still have Aaron Jones. He's a good running back. Their offensive line is still decent. So, I mean, the Bucs are definitely going to have to play well. And like I said, their defense has improved, I think. So, and honestly, the Packers defense wasn't even awful in Tampa or in the NFC title game. They weren't awful in either game. So that'll be a challenge for sure. But I do think the Bucs will come out, energized and try to get a win in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, I think as far as Green Bay is concerned, when you look back at that 2020 game, if anything derailed that team, it was a pick six followed by another interception shortly thereafter. Can't really put that on their defense, but let's take a look at week 4 here. You want to talk about primetime games? This one is primetime, their second primetime game of the season. We've got a Super Bowl 55 rematch in Raymond James Stadium. Week 4, Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to come to Tampa Bay to take on Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 8:20 p.m. on NBC. Man, for Kansas City, this is kind of just the luck of the draw, but this is their third straight visit to Raymond James. The last 3 times they have played the Buccaneers, one of those being Super Bowl 55, 31-9, the final score of that. And then the other one in 2020, they got the best of the Bucs in the regular season. But this is another game on the schedule where a lot of people are going to be watching.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's finally you get the rematch of the Super Bowl 55 in the place where Super Bowl 55 happened. I had a strong feeling that this was going to be a primetime game after it wasn't a primetime game in 2020. So this should be a one with a lot of fireworks, I think. I think this could be a high-scoring one. Even though the Chiefs lost Tyreek Hill, I do think this could be a pretty high-scoring game. Yeah,
and honestly, pretty interesting as well. This will mean the return of Ronald Jones to Tampa Bay. We talk about storylines for this game. And I know when you talk about Kansas City, you don't necessarily talk about their run game, but I think with the Packers and having Aaron Jones in the backfield and then the return of Ronald Jones the next week, depending on how he's used in this Kansas City offense, I think it's a good time to talk about this Buccaneers run defense. We mentioned briefly the uncertainty of Ndamukong Suh coming back. Jason Pierre-Paul seems like is going to take his talent elsewhere. With that being said, let me ask you bluntly, this Bucs team for the last 3 seasons has been near the top of the NFL, if not the best team in the league at defending the run. Are they going to be as good at doing that this year?
Wait and see. I mean, Ndamukong Suh, we'll see if he comes back. He's really good against the run. We'll see if he doesn't come back. Do they add somebody? Is that what they do? We'll have to wait and see.
I fully expect the Bucs to add somebody else, like a veteran D tackle somewhere.
Yeah, Sheldon Richardson could be a guy. He has, he has familiarity with Todd Bowles as well. So Sheldon Richardson could be a guy, but I don't know. I still think Sue's going to come back, honestly, but that's just my gut feel.
What do you think is dragging that process out? Is it just business as usual? I mean,
I just think it's neither side's in really much of a rush, honestly. Like I don't think Sue's in much of a rush. I think Sue really at this point only wants to go one place. And I think the Bucs are just like, okay, take your time. Like I feel like it's kind of the same thing with Gronkowski. Like I think both will be back.
Yeah, the Gronkowski situation, when you explain it like that, everybody's like, yeah, duh. But I think when it comes to any other player who hasn't signed for an extensive period of time, maybe people start to freak out a little bit more than they should. But I don't know. I'm 50-50 on Ndamukong Suh because Greg Allman was quoted as saying that it's unlikely that Sue comes back, but he even said himself that's not what he said.
I said that's not what he said.
He was explaining himself in a lot of the replies of stories that were quoting him. He's like, this is not what I said. So just to float that out there as well, I think the statement he had used was it seems unlikely. Like,
well,
that's not even what he said. Like,
yeah,
what did he say?
He just basically listed that, they drafted Logan Hall and like he's not signed yet, so maybe he's not in the picture. That's what it was. And then that one account on Twitter, NFL Rumors something, which tries to be, NFL rumor update or whatever, like that guy who was, Ari, who's really good, right? He tries to be him, My Sports Update. He tries to be him and he has like 30,000 followers and he takes things and assumes them and then puts them into his own words. And people take it for a fact. I don't understand.
My favorite part of this year isn't so much the schedule dropping. It's that one or two scam account on Twitter that fools everybody with fake schedule leaks.
Man, the one with 10K.
Oh, dude, he let him have it this year. Normally, the reveal isn't that violent. Normally, it's a little more anticlimactic once you start finding out that all of those games were wrong. But he really ripped into everybody this year. Just a quick reminder, Twitter is a free app. You don't have to use it, but it's a great place to go for updates on the NFL, news around the NFL. I mean, all sports.
Fake news.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good place. Also, you can follow your favorite podcast hosts on there, Rhett and Evan. You can check us out at Redicus and at Evan NFL. Buck, what you heard in the live chat says, "What's up, people? How you doing, Gene? Good to have you in here, my friend." Jardani
and you can follow. Do you follow the podcast at Cannon Fire Pod?
Yes, you can. You can find us on Twitter at Cannon Fire Pod. Brian Shaw in the chat says Chiefs without Tyreek Hill is not beating the Buccaneers in Tampa. That's going to be interesting as well. We talk about Kansas City and their offense. Not a lot of people look at their run game. A lot of people are going to have some questions about their passing attack as well. I mean, obviously, Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. He's just like Aaron Rodgers, where he's going to find a way to get it done. And I think Kansas City is going to win a lot of games this year. But when you look at how stacked the AFC West is, I know the Denver Broncos potentially lost Jerry Jeudy after getting arrested today, but a lot of people say KC is, one of the weaker offenses in that division, which is kind of wild to think about, especially the tear that they went on in, 2019, 2020, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see how that's going to work out because when you lose...
Go ahead.
When you lose such a valuable piece to your team and a valuable piece of your offense, I'm curious to see how it's going to work out. So.
David Cardona, the moderator, coming in. This is a loaded question, man. This is the best question of the show so far. So schedule looks very interesting, but the real question is, however, will a King of the Wing rematch occur? Oh, it looks like I may have to defend my crown here soon, because for those who do not remember, your 2020 King of the Wing is this guy right here. So yeah, when's round 2 happening, boyo?
I'm gonna be down there weeks 8 through 10, and they only play at home once, so I'm only going to one game.
We'll have to.
Well, technically, they play at home twice because they play Baltimore on Thursday night, but I'm flying down Friday, so.
So Friday during. Okay, so you're gonna make sure you see the game on Thursday night. I had to make sure.
Yeah, Friday. Yeah, I'm flying down to Florida on Friday, so I obviously watch it Thursday night, but in Pennsylvania. But so I don't know. We'll see.
We'll take a look, but let's get back into the schedule. Pick up where we left off. Week 5. It's another division game for Tampa Bay. and this is their third straight week at home. We'll talk about that here in a second as well. They're going to be playing the Atlanta Falcons, 1 o'clock. That game will be on Fox. A division game against a Falcons team that is the lowest they have been in a very long time. They lost their franchise quarterback, Matt Ryan, to Indianapolis. And it's Mariota and who else?
Desmond Ridder.
Yeah. So we're
do you mean who else in the quarterback room or who else on the offense?
Yeah, because I thought they got another quarterback, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder. I think they still got my guy Josh Rosen, I think.
Man, Josh Rosen was the future of the Bucs at one point.
He was. I might still be. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, but even their team, you could say that they have Grady Jarrett and who? He's like, Atlanta's clearly in a rebuild. We don't have to spend too much time on it. Got to be, especially with the schedule they have, though. This has got to be a game that the Buccaneers take care of. You can't lose a game like this. This is obviously, for people that are just joining, this is not a record prediction show. You can feel free to drop your record predictions in the chat. Feel free to. We'll read them live on air, whatever. But we will not be personally predicting the season. That comes in late July or early August. So we'll be breaking it down. But with this slate of games and the schedule and the opponents they have, you need to take care of the ones that you are truly better than. And Atlanta is one of those teams.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we talk about that nasty stretch to open the year for Tampa Bay. Those first 4 games against some quality opponents. Week 5, you've got the Falcons, and then the Bucs are back on the road. You've got 2 more games after the Falcons against, some not so great opponents. But I'm going to be honest with you. This one right here to kick off the road trip, week 6, I think this is one of those games where it's going to be like a sneaky tough game. And
this is a tough one.
I'll explain why here in a minute, but week 6, the Bucs are on the road. They'll be in Heinz Field to play the Pittsburgh Steelers Sunday, October 16th. Yeah, my eyes are not deceiving me. 1 o'clock.
Which I like because the weather won't be awful.
Exactly. It's going to be a beautiful fall afternoon. They're in Pittsburgh, 1 o'clock. But it's a tough place to play. But the thing about Pittsburgh is that, yes, they're more than likely going to be rolling out with a rookie quarterback. I don't know. Maybe Mitch Trubisky wins the job and he's starting this one, right? Maybe we get Mitch Trubisky against Tampa Bay once again. But it's either going to be Kenny Pickett in his tiny-ass hands or it's going to be Mitch Trubisky.
Right.
You don't think much of this team on offense, but where the Steelers' brand of football is made is their defense. And I have watched quite a few Steelers games over the last few years. Their team is boring as all hell. And that's because their defense is consistently towards the top of the NFL. And the Bucs are going to need a game plan this week for sure.
I think this is going to be the lowest scoring game of the year. I think this could be like a Patriots last year style game, like 19-17, something like. I don't see many points being scored in this game at all. So for either team, and how do you beat Tom Brady? I mean, I always say it's how you beat every quarterback, but when you can get consistent pressure on them, the offensive line is going to have to play an A+ game because the Steelers secondary isn't great, but their front 7 is just so good that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, TJ Watt is a one-man wrecking crew.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think TJ Watt, if they have him lined up against Tristan Wirfs, that's going to be an exciting matchup. Like, that's probably...
I'm sure they're going to try to get him against Donovan Smith. Though.
Yeah, exactly.
I like Donovan Smith, but the weaker one is Donovan Smith.
I think if you're looking at what that defensive line for Pittsburgh can do, TJ Watt can do it all by himself, and I would not be surprised if he ends up in Brady's face throughout that one. So that should be a good game. And then after that, the Bucs are still on the road. It's another division opponent. They are headed to Carolina to play the Panthers. And the Panthers, just like Atlanta, obviously in a rebuilding phase, but it seems like they're in that weird in-between phase where you don't know if they're ready to take a step in the right direction or not.
Yeah, there's still a lot of questions at quarterback, obviously. Still a lot of questions along the offensive line, even though they did draft Ike Ekwonu. But there's still questions along the offensive line there. There's even some questions on defense. They have, their secondary is good. Their front 7 is okay. They have some nice players. It still feels like Carolina's probably a year away. I don't think their coaching staff's the greatest. It feels like, again, this is a game where it might be a little bit tougher than Atlanta, but this is a game where the Buccaneers have to win, and maybe they don't dominate it as they have in years past because of the Panthers getting a top tier offensive tackle prospect, and like I said,
maybe not having Cam Newton on their roster as well. I know he didn't see a ton of action last year, but he got a few snaps against Tampa.
Yeah. So in Carolina, he got a lot of snaps. He was terrible. But Sam Darnold is going to be Darnold by this point. Maybe is it going to be Matt Corral, who they just drafted? Who knows? I mean, the Bucs could be facing two straight rookie quarterbacks here, and Kenny Pickett and Matt Corral. So it'll be interesting to see, what the game plan is. It might be closer than some past Carolina games. I know the Bucs have handled Carolina pretty good. This one might be more similar to, I think, week 2 of 2020, where that game was pretty close. I know the final score won't reflect it because the Bucs won by 2 scores, but that was only because Leonard Fournette's, final, his touchdown run to seal it. It was 24-17. It was a 7-point game. So I think that's the type of game you could see versus Carolina this year. But again, the Bucs need to win this game because they're better than them. So we're not going to spend too much time, especially division opponents. Like we've talked about them a ton. So we're not going to spend too much time on those, but the Bucs, again, they need to win this game.
Yeah. If you've watched the Bucs over the last 2 seasons, which a lot of people listening have, you know that they can handle Carolina pretty well. Same story with Atlanta. So when we cover that on the schedule, once again, the story remains the same.
And that's week 18. So who knows what's even going to happen now.
But let's move on to this next stretch of games, which is a pretty interesting one. And to be honest with you, I think this is going to be the toughest stretch of the season. It's
even tougher than the first 4.
Okay. I do, because keep in mind the first 4 weeks of the season is the first 4 weeks of the season for every other team in the NFL.
It's true.
You know what I mean? The Bucs have garnered a reputation of being one of the better teams in the NFL. I think a lot of people have them pegged as an NFC favorite this year, a top NFC contender next to teams like the Rams, the Packers. But let's take a look at the stretch here. The Bucs are playing the next 2 out of 3 games at home, which definitely helps. If this was on the road, it'd be very different story.
Technically, it's 3 straight home games. Just saying.
You are right. You are
technically right. It's 3 straight home games.
Well, it's going to be a short week for them as they head back to Raymond James Stadium following the game against Carolina. They're going to play host to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens Thursday Night Football, 8:15 kickoff on Amazon Prime. How the hell am I going to watch that, Evan?
You're going to have to get like a free trial of Amazon Prime, I guess.
They
only have one Thursday Night Football game. So if you don't care about the other Thursday Night Football games, just do that.
Right. Well, that's why it's like I feel like the Thursday Night Football ratings this year are just going to be bad in general. I know we're kind of taking a turn talking about programming decisions here, but
I wonder if they're going to do a different price. Like if you just want the football, like I wonder if they're going to do like a different price for you if you just want like the one game.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice if they did a general broadcast for people who don't feel like downloading that garbage, because I'm already paying for so many streaming apps every single year. And then not to mention NFL Sunday Ticket no longer on DirecTV, so that's going to be a big change.
That'll be next year though.
Oh, okay. So this is the last for season on DirecTV?
Yes. And honestly, it sounds like the guess here is that it probably goes to Apple TV because with Amazon it was Amazon and Apple for Sunday Ticket. With Amazon getting Thursday Night Football, probably be Apple, which we get Sunday Ticket because that's how we've always used to watch Bucs games. And probably need to use it a little bit more this time too, because you know what, Rhett? I've noticed a lot more 1 p.m. games this year than last year. I mean, you have 1 p.m. against the Saints. Okay, so Saints, let's count it with me. Saints
indoors,
Falcons,
but yes, 1 p.m. kickoff.
Saints, Falcons, Steelers, Panthers, Browns, Panthers, and then probably Falcons again. 7. Like that's more than the Bucs have.
If they play that game on a Saturday, I don't know why, but something tells me because they're playing. No, they're on the road that last game against Atlanta. Yep. Something tells me that's going to be a 4:00 game. Okay. I don't know why, but something says like 4:25 kickoff. We'll find out.
I mean, they do have 5 primetime games, which is the normal. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think like nationally televised games. I think the Bucs will have a few less nationally televised games, like New Orleans. Week 2. It's a big matchup, but I don't know if that's going to be nationally televised. It's at 1 p.m. Like, I don't know. Like Falcons at week 6. Don't know. Steelers, Panthers, those probably aren't. So, it'll be interesting to see. But we're done talking about football programming and where it goes. Figure it out when it happens. But let's go move on to the next opponent, the tough stretch of opponents, which you think is the toughest of the season. Get into it.
I do. So these are all technically home games. This second week in a row, they are playing in Ray J after hosting Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. That's going to be a fun game. I think
I'm very curious to see how they're going to defend him because they haven't played a guy like him. Todd Bowles' defense has never played him. The last time they played the Ravens was 2018, and they lost that game. So Todd Bowles and they actually didn't play awful against Lamar. Like they contained him for the most part. So I'm very curious to see what happens there.
This next one is the game that everybody has got circled on the calendar. Sunday Night Football, Raymond James Stadium. Or I'm sorry, not Sunday Night Football. 4:25 p.m. It's going to be on CBS. The LA Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions, come to town. Man, oh man, the Bucs have got to win this game. I mean, just to validate
because I'll be in attendance, or
oh, that's gonna be a scary game to be in attendance. I know you're gonna be sweating this one a little bit. I think just to validate the type of team that they are. To be honest with you, I mean, you take a look at the teams that have gotten the upper hand against Tampa Bay. And eventually they were able to one up and kind of get them back, right? Like the Saints have absolutely owned us in the regular season. Doesn't matter. We beat them when it counts. We won a goddamn Super Bowl, right? The Saints just set a record for having the most playoff victories and 0 Super Bowl appearances during that span.
Really?
I mean, that's an NFL record.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they actually just set that record. So the Saints are obviously doing great things in the postseason. They're just not getting the job done. But the LA Rams, since Tom Brady has come here, the Bucs have had 0 answer for it. They literally have. I mean, you look at the 2 contests that they had in the regular season, 2020, that was a very, very frustrating game. The interception with Tom on the final drive gets the job done. Frustrating game against them on the road yet again, week 3, and then the divisional round game. I mean, come on, dude. It was what, 27-3 at one point, and obviously through the will of our quarterback and the will of our team, they're able to make a comeback because that's the identity or part of the identity that this Bucs team has. But unfortunately, the defense was not able to get the job done. This is an LA Rams team that's going to be riding higher than they ever have playing Tampa Bay. Cooper Kupp is going to be doing his thing, barring injury. Matt Stafford is still going to be slinging it. Aaron Donald is still going to be on their defense. I mean, yeah, they lost some guys, but if they don't lose OBJ, I don't know if he's close to coming back around this time of the year either, but like the Bucs have to win this game. This is one of the toughest games of the season.
The challenge, you brought up a good point that like the Bucs have been able to exercise a lot of their demons, except this one. They have not been able to exercise this demon. They haven't been able to do it, and they haven't even really come close. Like, yeah, like the scores, like the playoff game, sure, the 2020 game, sure, those were 3-point games. Were they actually that close? Like when you watched it, like were they actually were the Bucs in it the entire time? Like no, like and then the 10-point loss in 2021, they definitely weren't in it the entire time. This is a game where you're going to need Tom Brady to finally play a full 4 quarters against this Rams team. He hasn't played well against the Rams. The Saints and Rams, he hasn't played well against, and he hasn't done enough against those teams. And yes, like I said, he played great to come back in the divisional round. They had 3 points in like the third quarter. And I understand like they didn't have Godwin, and Brashad Perriman was the number 2 wide receiver, and he was a little banged up, but you still like part of the reason was because like you weren't good enough. So they're gonna need Tom Brady. This could be Tom Brady's last time playing the Rams. Who knows? They're gonna need a heroic effort from Tom Brady, because honestly, I expect the Rams to score a lot of points. I just think the Rams offense has Todd Bowles' defense figured out, and I don't think the Bucs are going to be able to just shut down the Rams. So I think the Bucs offense is Chris Godwin will be back by now. Week 9, he will be back. The Bucs offense is going to have to play well, and they're going to have to play clean and smart football.
The offensive line. I mean, the biggest X factor of this game, we can talk about the Buccaneers pass rush all day long, but it wasn't like they were terrorizing Matt Stafford at all last year and Jared Goff the year before. But seriously, this Buccaneers offensive line, you've got Shaq Mason and then whoever's going to be winning the other guard spot between Aaron Stinney and Gedeke. Like, that's it, man. You know, offensive line is going to have to hold up. Tom Brady is going to have to do his thing. No mental mistakes. Don't let this Rams team get in your head and play the brand of Bucs football that they have been trying to play ever since he got here in 2020. That's what you got to do to beat this team, and it should be an entertaining contest. I am surprised it is not prime time, but 4:25 time slot on CBS, maybe.
That's Romo and Nance. So
yeah,
it's prime time basically. It's a tough one. So obviously after that, just they go to a little international, huh? They get a little international, get some Germany flavor, huh?
Getting German with it. So this is the Germany game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2022. We have known about this game for a while. And, you know, the opponents have been rumored for the longest time. It was rumored that it was Kansas City. Come to find out, that's week 4. Bucs are going to be playing the Seattle Seahawks. And it's interesting to note that this is a Seahawks team that no longer has Russell Wilson. So obviously you can't mark it as a win just yet, but it's definitely a more favorable matchup in Germany than Kansas City would have been.
Not only do they not have Russell Wilson, they don't have Bobby Wagner. So I think this is a game where you have to win. The tough thing, both teams are national. You don't, how are those teams, how are they going to react to that? How are they going to react to being in a different element? You've seen some wacky things in Germany, or not in Germany, because actually this is the first ever NFL game in Germany. So you haven't seen any wacky things in Germany, but when you go overseas, you've seen some wacky things. I think the Jaguars, they got their first win last year against the Dolphins in London. So Tom Brady has never lost an international game. The Buccaneers have never won an international game. So something has to give. It might be a tie, but something has to give between the Seahawks here and the Bucs. The Bucs are better than the Seahawks. They have to win this game. The Bucs, I really think on this schedule, the Bucs only have 4 or 5 games that I'm like, okay, yeah, like you can, like I can clearly say, like, and confidently, yeah, like the Bucs are better than this team. Yeah. Like you can make the argument, I think, for a lot of teams, 12, 13 teams on the schedule, that they're either on the same level as the Bucs or better than the Bucs. You can make that argument. There's only a few that you can say, like, oh, the Bucs are better than. I think Seattle is one of those teams. The Bucs, regardless of where it is played, it could be played in my backyard. I don't care. You have to win the game.
I agree. We got another donation to the Wendy's Fund. Our buddy Mr. Bucks Nation, James Hill, dropping $2 in there. Support the show, folks, he says. Let's clap it up for the boy, James.
Thanks, James.
Hey, James, we truly appreciate your support, and I hate to do this, but I might have to take a minute to throw him under the bus.
Oh, boy.
So it's Thursday night, and James normally has some stuff going on Thursday night, some scheduled activities with his friends, and that's okay. I totally respect it. I mean, it's a really big content day. We consider ourselves #content guys. It's kind of an inside joke, but James blew us off tonight, man. I invited him to come on the schedule release show, and he said, "Nope, I'm gonna play board games instead."
Hey, sometimes Monopoly is just calling her name.
I mean, and here's the thing, is that board games wasn't even the original scheduled activity that he normally does on Thursday nights. Board games was
alternative.
It was an alternative. You know why it was an alternative? Because several of the people who do this scheduled activity are out of town.
Just to be clear, folks, he's not in a cult or anything. It's another
game
that they play.
Maybe he is. Don't tell him.
It's another game. It's another game. That's all I'm going to say, is that it's another game. I don't want people's imaginations running wild about James Hill. Okay. Yeah.
Oh man.
We love you, James.
Wish we could have had him on here. We love you, buddy.
He just gave you another $2. He said, just for that, Rhett, you get another $2. So see, he's rewarding you with money and you're talking smack about him.
Yeah, let's keep searing him throughout the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, I'm just going to start blasting him.
We'll just start dragging him. Thank you again, buddy. We really do appreciate you. So for Tampa Bay, looking back at the schedule,
week 11 bye week's good.
Yeah, they've got the international game in Munich, and then after that, They have got the bye week, and I don't think there could have been a better time for it, to be honest.
It's a good bye week. I think anytime after week 8 is when I always want my bye week. I think anytime after week 8.
I think the sweet spot is like week 13, week 8, like somewhere in that window. Because if you get anything,
I want to play at least 7 games first.
Sure, yeah, I'll take that. But I mean, you get later on in the season. I don't want to say you worry about it being like too late in the season or anything, but it's also kind of one of those things where when you're playing this many games in a row without a break, that's something that the Bucs have dealt with before. You remember all the way back, man, what was it, 2017, 2018, when they didn't have week 1? And so literally they just took away the bye week, filled it in.
2017.
Yeah, and they had to play 16
and the team sucked that year. The team sucked that year, so there was no break.
What, they 5-11, 6-10?
Yeah, 5-11. It was 16 straight weeks of just terrible football.
Yeah. God forbid. I wish they would do that to Tom Brady. Okay. Yeah. I wish.
Yeah, they would not. Yeah. That would have been interesting to see what would happen there. Because the Bucs were scheduled to play in Miami that year. What if it was the Patriots that were scheduled?
And then the Hurricane.
Yeah. What if it was the Patriots that were scheduled to play in Miami that year? Or I don't know. Anyways, so now they go on the road, week 12, Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, with most likely Deshaun Watson. Even if he does get suspended, barring any injury, he's likely the starter by this point. Like, he's likely the guy. If it would have been in the first 5-6 weeks, maybe not. Who knows? But I think by week 12, you're going to see Deshaun Watson. Cleveland didn't make the playoffs last year, but they're a team who I think could sneak into the playoffs. This is another tough road game. It's later in the year. It is, what date is that? It is November 27th. So the weather may not be too favorable in Cleveland. Might be a little chilly. I don't know. I don't think you'll see snow, but it might be a little chilly.
Maybe the coldest game of the year for him, to be honest.
It will be the coldest game. Yeah, because Atlanta's in a dome, Arizona's in a dome, and then they play San Francisco. So yeah, it's the coldest. It is the coldest game. This is going to be a tough road game. I think this is actually going to be a really close game. And it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top with this, because Deshaun Watson is still, regardless of what you think of him off the field, right? It just basing it on the field, he's a heck of a player, and the Browns are a better football team with him at quarterback.
Yeah, and then this Browns defense is obviously nothing to sneeze at. They just signed Denzel Ward to make him the highest paid cornerback of all time. I mean, I don't know if he deserves all that money, but the guy's pretty damn good. And then, of course, you got Myles Garrett along that defensive line as well. They made some other moves throughout the course of the offseason. And then Deshaun Watson, kind of like Lamar Jackson, I don't think he's quite as much of a scrambler, but the question becomes, how are you going to defend that guy? Because he's going to be able to get away from your pass rush again and again and again. So it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup, and it should be a tough road game for Tampa Bay, but that'll be a fun one to watch. 1 o'clock kickoff, like you had mentioned. Another division opponent back at home in Raymond James Stadium. And throughout the rest of the season, from this point on, the Buccaneers alternate home games away, home games away. So if there's one thing that we've noticed about the schedule is that there really are no brutal road trips, which is always a blessing when you don't really have to factor in travel. Like, there's a short week that they're going to have a little bit earlier in the year, which we talked about.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, you got the Panthers into the Ravens, but after that, I mean, really, I think the Buccaneers kind of made it out lucky not having any brutal road trips.
And then obviously you'll have the Monday night game, but then you'll have to travel to San Francisco. So you're going to be, you play Monday, but then you have to travel for Sunday. So,
and you're going all the way across the country because
so
that Monday night game, that Monday night game is the one we're talking about right now. Division opponent New Orleans Saints come back. It'll be the last game of the season against them. December 5th, Monday Night Football, 8:15 p.m. on ESPN. It'll be Joe Buck calling that game on ESPN.
Yeah, and Troy Aikman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot that they made that move too. Isn't that something?
And then Fox could have another name in the future, in 5 years.
In the future, yeah, like 5-6 years in the future.
In 25 years. Yeah, I mean, the NFL looked at it and they were like, yeah, I guess we kind of do want to see the New Orleans Saints just kick the Bucs' asses on Monday night now. So, and instead of Sunday night, they just said let's just move it a day, and we can just we can just watch it on a different day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Third straight in Tampa, prime time against the Saints. No, like why?
Not a great feeling. Not the best feeling in the world.
Thank God it's not Sunday night. If it was Sunday night, I'd give up. But it's Monday night, so maybe I don't know.
You know that I'm very superstitious. I believe in uniform luck as well. I think they have to mix up the uniforms this year for this game. It's going to be at home. Please, for the love of God, do not wear the red and pewter. We may get a uniform schedule dropping here soon with the regular schedule. Hopefully in the next coming weeks we find that out. But please, for the love of God, do not wear the red and pewter.
Yeah, because the Saints are going to wear those.
The alternate golds.
They beat them in both. So they beat them last year in their normal one. So it doesn't matter.
I either want them to wear red jerseys, white pants, or just wear the white and pewter, man.
Or just wear pewter. You haven't lost to the Saints in pewter.
It could be a pewter game, right?
Hey, you haven't lost to the Saints in pewter. No, but they're going to do a red out again. Ooh.
They lost to the Rams twice in pewter, so I hope they don't do that for that matchup again.
No.
Yeah, man.
And they got to go red on the white versus the Rams there.
Yeah.
Because they lost to the Rams in white on pewter too. So
yeah, you're right.
You're running out of options against the Rams.
Next game on the road for Tampa Bay. They're heading across the country. San Francisco taking on, is it going to be Jimmy G or is it going to be Trey Lance?
Who's it going to be? I think it's Trey Lance. I think it's going to be Trey Lance.
I think by this time in the season, it's going to be Trey Lance. Not entirely sure what the situation with Jimmy G is. It seems like they're dragging that out more than anything. But I think this is going to be Trey Lance. So not a rookie QB, but a rookie QB. Should be an interesting game. That'll be December 11th, Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Actually, not a lot of 1 o'clock kickoffs to wrap up the season. We'll have to wait until that Week 18 game against Atlanta to find out what that's going to be. But playing San Francisco, 4:25 p.m., that'll be on Fox. The following week, they are back home in Raymond James Stadium, December 18th, 4:25 p.m. on CBS. They're going to be playing the Cincinnati Bengals, the AFC champions. That's going to be a tough game as well, late in the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously. And, by this point, will the teams be 100% healthy? Likely not. So we'll have to wait and see, obviously. But, yeah, this will be a tough one. This could be a high-scoring game. I could see this being a pretty high-scoring game as well.
Yeah, I think Joey Burrow – Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to move on. So if you want to talk about the Bengals.
I was just going to say, I think Joe Burrow is going to play one hell of a season this year. I mean, if his offensive line can hold up, they obviously got some help. Alex Kappa going to be making his return to Tampa Bay on that interior offensive line. And they did a lot of work on that offensive line. So we'll see if they can make something happen. But Jamar Chase following up on an incredible rookie season. I think there's going to be a lot of points in that one, just like you said.
Yep. And then they have a jolly good time against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. They play Christmas night, and thank God it's Christmas night. I don't want to plan on Christmas at all. I don't like it, but I'm glad it's Christmas night so I can do my normal
do Christmas.
Yeah, because my family does Christmas during the day. We don't do really much at night. So all of it's wrapped up by 6 o'clock. So this works for me. If it's going to be on Christmas, I'd rather be at 8:20. NFL has been cruel to the Cardinals. This is the second straight year that the Cardinals will play on Christmas. Not nice.
You know what's funny?
They must have gotten coal in their stocking. Because...
You know what's funny about the Cardinals, though, that I think about is that this is a team that kind of falls apart down the stretch.
They do.
If these last few years are anything, consistency with Arizona is something that they just cannot find for 17 weeks of the season. Kyler Murray had a great year last season, and then they just kind of fell off. And that's the reputation that their head coach has. His teams just kind of fall apart down the stretch, and I'm curious to see if that's going to be an issue for them. They're playing in a pretty strong division. We'll see what kind of shape that they are in, but that'll be a good one to watch on Christmas. So does that mean we're going to have to do a podcast on Christmas, or are we going to do it the morning after? It'll be a late one on Christmas.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to our not final division game of the year, but our second to last game of the year.
Final regular season home game of the year.
Yes, final. Yes, words are hard. Final regular season home game of the season. It's a division game against the Carolina Panthers. We talked about that matchup a little bit earlier, so you kind of know how that's going to go. And then they wrap it up against the Atlanta Falcons. It's either going to be January 7th or 8th, time to be determined. network to be determined. That game against the Panthers I had mentioned also going to be at 1:00.
And then that's on New Year's Day. So they play on Christmas and on New Year's Day.
Do they really? No shit. Wow.
So,
well, that's the
then
season.
there was also the chance that they could have played on Thanksgiving, but obviously they play in Dallas week 1. So.
Yeah, that was a heavily rumored game, was Dallas on Thanksgiving. I'm glad that wasn't the case, though. I would much rather.
No, the NFL would have done that. They wouldn't have had a team play on Thanksgiving and on Christmas. So
yeah.
I would. I'd probably rather play on Thanksgiving.
You think so?
The
Bucs haven't fared well on Thanksgiving. I think they only played once before.
They played once and they got crushed by Dallas.
Yeah,
but,
they got absolutely destroyed.
But I don't know. I like to enjoy Christmas the entire time, and now basically we have to kind of work during Christmas, and I'm like, that kind of sucks.
Let's check in on the live chat really quickly. Our buddy Dub says, I'm a little late. Is the Germany game an away game for us? No, sir. No. It is a home game. So it's going to count as a home game. So the Bucs are, I guess, cheated out of a home game this year, which is exactly what happened in 2019 when they went across the pond to play the Panthers, and they got mollywopped in that game.
I believe the last 3 times the Bucs have gone international, they've been the designated home team. So expect, obviously, I don't think they can go again for a while now because they've already done it. So expect the next time they go, whether it be in 3, 4, or 5 years, they'll probably be the road team.
Yeah. Let's check in. A couple of early predictions here throughout the live chat. Kevin, the moderator, says, I say 11 to 12 wins for the Bucs this year. Mind you, this is a very early prediction. Our buddy Tony Baloney says 10 to 11 wins. I like starting out on the road. Brady is not going out like that against the Saints this year.
That's what I like to think, but
yeah,
every time I seem to think that.
Dennis Allen, head coach, the guy who I think is single-handedly responsible for how tough of a time Brady has had against New Orleans. He doesn't have a great history as a head coach. I don't think he's going to have a strong season this year for New Orleans, but obviously anything can happen. But I still think when they play the Bucs, it's going to be their Super Bowl.
Yeah, when they play the Bucs, they all turn into superstars. So it doesn't matter, especially that defense. The defense turns into absolute superstars, so it does not matter.
Yeah, our buddy Dub says this schedule is tough at first glance. I do agree. Kevin says, what would be the best uniform combo you want to see this year, Bucs against another team? If you guys have been listening to the show for a while, you know my my low-key favorite uniform combo.
Rhett loves nostalgia. So I think I know what it's gonna. Well, I think, is he talking about Bucs, or is he talking about the Bucs wearing pewter and the red jerseys, pewter pants against the Panthers white on white? Is he talking about uniform?
No, maybe he means uniform. Okay, well let's break it down both ways. I guess let's talk about our favorite uniform combo for Tampa Bay, and then maybe the most appealing uniform combo on television.
Oh, by the way, real quick, they wrap up with Atlanta and Atlanta. So.
Yeah, I said that. We said that.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah,
it's on a Saturday or Sunday. Just want to get that out of the way. So this can be one of the last segments we do here.
Yeah, we'll start to wrap things up.
Okay, he said the Bucs wearing 2 colors against another team's 2 colors, but we'll do both. So you say your favorite uniform of the Bucs, and then we'll get into that.
So my favorite uniform of Tampa Bay, if you've been listening to the podcast for an extended period of time, you may know what it is. I was begging them to bust it out before 2020 because they did not wear it in 2020. They busted it out in 2021. It is very nostalgic for me.
Normally they wear it in the preseason.
Yeah, it is a preseason staple, but late 90s they wore it a lot at home too. Trent Dilfer, a lot of memorable games in that, but red jersey, white pants, man. It's such a clean look. Everybody complained over the years. There was a time where people were like, oh, I don't like when they wear the white pants because they look like the Falcons. But I don't know, man. Just the pewter helmet with the white pants and the red shirt. I think it's a classic look. You know what I mean? As of right now, it's the closest thing we have to a throwback game until we get the creamsicles officially in 2023, which I pray to football Jesus that Tom Brady is sticking around for. I really hope TB12 comes back in 2023. Even if he's on a non-player contract, just have him suit up for that one uniform. Yep, just get him in a uniform, stand on the sidelines, look pretty. That's all I need. I need to witness it. Red on white's my favorite combo for Tampa Bay. But honestly, when we talk about combos that are pleasant to look at on television.
I know what you're gonna say.
I know it. You know what I'm gonna say, and I hope that we see it this year. It's early in the season.
I don't think you're going to.
I don't think we will either. I think they're gonna wear another combo, but my favorite is Bucks Packers. Red and pewter against the Packers' white and yellow pants. Just there's something so nostalgic about Warren Sapp going after Brett Favre, that uniform combo under the lights. That's football to me. Like, I don't know why, but when I see that on my TV, like, that's football, because it reminds me of football when Warren Sapp was just violating quarterbacks back in the late 90s, early 2000s for Tampa Bay. But yeah, that red and pewter and then the Green Bay Packers, that's my favorite uniform combo to see on my television.
So I kind of I've always liked when the Bucks play the Cowboys in Dallas, because the Bucks will wear red and pewter. And Dallas wears white. I think that's a good one. I like the Ravens at Bucks. If the Bucks, it's a night game, so maybe the Bucks do red on white and the Ravens wear their white on black, maybe, or white on white pants. So that could look interesting. The one I'm looking at though is Bengals and Bucks. I think if the Bucks wear like just red and pewter, I think red and pewter, and the Bengals wear white on black, I think that could look pretty good, or white on white, whatever. I think that could look pretty good, but
I think they might go red on white for the Bengals game.
They could.
That seems like a game where they're going to do that, because I think if the Bengals are coming in wearing white on black, like what I like in my uniform matchups is when the colors, like for the home team and the away team, the colors are different in every aspect.
All four, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like the pants are different for home and away. It's not like you have both teams wearing white pants. Like when the Bucks wore red and white last year and they played the Giants and then they played the Bills, both of those teams were wearing white pants. So it didn't really pop on my screen as much. The Giants throwback uniforms are delicious, by the way. I love those uniforms that they were wearing. But yeah, I think having all four of those aspects different is what makes a good uni combo.
Yeah, so Sal in the chat actually stole my idea. I was going to ask, I would like to see them wear pewter jerseys on white pants. I would just like to see how it looks.
Interesting.
I just want to see how it looks. That's all I want to say. I want to see how it looks. Real quick before we head out. Okay, so you think they're wearing red jerseys, white pants against the Bengals? When is the pewter game?
Ooh, let me take a look at the schedule. Let me pull this thing up right now. I have an idea in my head. I want to say it's going to be the Ravens game. Something tells me Baltimore in Tampa might be that game. Let me see some other games here. I don't know if they wear it on the road. That's the thing,
They wore it on the road last year.
Yeah, they wore it on the road last year. So I don't think week 1 in Dallas they're going to wear pewter. I don't think you start the season wearing an alternate like that. Maybe that first Atlanta game in Ray J could be a pewter game as well, because they've worn pewter against Atlanta a couple times.
The thing about it, though, it's like it's still kind of early. Like it's October 9th, and it's a 1 p.m. game. Don't know if they're going to wear pewter. I think New Year's Day versus Carolina is going to be the pewter game.
Yeah, that one in Tampa Bay as well should be an interesting
It's late enough. It's late enough. They wore in 2020. They wore pewter against the Falcons. 1 p.m. game, week 17. They
wore it against the Rams in 2022.
So, like, I think it's late enough in the season to wear it at 1 p.m. So I think it'll be the Panthers at Buccaneers.
All right,
it's a shame. It's a shame that we can't sit here and be like, "Oh, when's the creamsicle gonna?"
Yeah, right.
You know?
Oh,
if there was a game, if there was a creamsicle game, I think it would be probably Atlanta week 5, because I think you'd probably look for a 1 p.m. game to do that.
I think a 1 p.m. game would be cool, but I think the coolest atmosphere ever would be that Saints game. Like Monday night football. Yeah. You don't think the creamsicles look good at night?
No, I don't.
I don't know. Let me look at a day game and I'll pick one. I think a 4:25 game would make sense. Like the Packers game would make a lot of sense, to be honest with you. They did it against the Packers before. Like Josh Freeman, his coming out party was the throwback game against the Packers. That was during the day. So 4:25 p.m. wouldn't be too bad of a time slot for it, because it cools down after a while, believe it or not.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, Kevin, by the way, another great point about the pewter uniforms. They wore those week 3 at Denver, so they did wear them on the road.
Yes.
I think
they've worn them on the road 2 years in a row.
They have at home.
So they wore them. They wore them at home against the Rams in 2020, against the Falcons in 2020,
Broncos in 2020.
Well, I'm talking about just at home though.
Oh, you're right.
I think that might be it.
They wore them at home against the Falcons in 21.
No, they didn't. That was 2020.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't. Week 2, they wore 1-on-1 against.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. I'm dumb.
I think they only wore them once in 2021. It was in LA.
Did they only wear them once?
I'm pretty sure they only wore them once, and it was in LA.
They got to get a winning record in those bad boys then, because I think they're 1-3.
They've won 2 games. They beat Denver and they beat Atlanta. So those are 2-2.
2-2. I don't know if anybody in our live chat knows for sure. That doesn't seem right. I feel like there was one more game they wore it.
I don't remember.
I don't know. Dub says, I remember we had orange socks one year and we had the calculator jerseys. Those were hideous. I think that was the worst uniform in Buccaneers history.
What was it? It was white jerseys, white pants, orange socks.
They would bust out the orange socks for like no reason. It would either be orange or red.
They didn't wear them much, but luckily they didn't wear them much. But it was pretty hideous.
Hey, I won't lie to you. While we are talking about uniforms, I know the calculator, the alarm clock era, a lot of people call it. I thought those color rush were still pretty slick.
Yeah.
I didn't mind them. I thought the numbers looked a little bit better because like the definition in the alarm clock wasn't as defined. You know what I mean? That pewter number I thought looked really, really cool.
I like interesting if they did something like that with the new ones, but yeah. So I think it is 9:00 now on the nose. So I think that is the point where we can kind of wrap this up. So the Bucs have a schedule, folks. The Bucs now have a schedule. We will not be doing any record predictions. Just, not to say they're not going to come, but they will be coming later on in the summer. Don't worry. And that'll be a long show. That's normally our biggest show, one of our biggest shows of the year. That'll probably be like a half hour, 45 minutes. Not a half hour, an hour and a half. Sorry. Longest show of the year, half hour. And we will go literally game by game, and we'll spend 15, probably 10 to 15 minutes on every single game, breaking down the matchups as we get closer to the season. So stay tuned for that. And we appreciate you all joining the live stream. Appreciate everybody that donated. Well, James, we appreciate you donating to the Wendy's Fund. He's always eating out, and I guess he wants us to start. Same.
I know, man. He's literally driving home from dinner, stopping at Wendy's, spending some money. It's all right, buddy. We appreciate you. One closing thought from our buddy Kevin522. This is a great one, man. While we're reminiscing about ugly uniforms and uniform combos, who remembers the infamous ketchup and mustard game? The St. Louis Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jameis Winston, Todd Gurley was like in his prime. And obviously the Bucs were not victorious in that one. But when you mention the ketchup and mustard bowl, 9 times out of 10, people know what you're talking about. Those Rams color rush were unfortunate. I mean, yellow on yellow, that's pretty dopey. That's bad.
And I feel like both of them looked worse because of who they were playing.
Yeah,
I feel like if they weren't playing, if it wasn't red playing yellow, if it wasn't yellow playing red, both of them would have looked better.
Like when the Bucs played the Falcons at home in the color rush. You remember the game with the Mike Evans
I was
catch? There. Yeah, Keanu Neal being the one that absolutely destroyed him. Everything comes full circle now. But that was a pretty memorable game as well. I thought that matchup looked a little bit better. But ladies and gentlemen, that's just about going to do it for this week's episode of the Cannon Fire podcast. Our schedule reveal show is in the books. We truly appreciate you guys hanging out with us live tonight. And you know what? If you hung out with us throughout the course of the live stream, thanks for hanging out with us because you had a choice. You certainly had a lot of choices tonight. It was a very, very busy night. Everybody and their mom was doing a live stream. So if you're listening to it after the fact, we really do appreciate you. But if you were rocking with us during the live stream, our moderator, Kevin522, our buddy Dub, Tony Baloney, Sal319, Reznov, anybody else that I may have missed, of course, Mr. Bucks Nation, and cannot forget our pal Gene over at Buck What You Heard. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will catch you in the next show. Believe it or not, we got a lot of Bucks news to talk about, so maybe we'll put something out here soon. It won't be too long before you hear from us again, but follow us over on social media. keep yourself updated. You can find the show, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show and, of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can follow my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucs_daily, the #1 Buccaneers fan page on Instagram. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL, and you can check out his written work at BucsNation.com. You got anything cooking right now?
I should have either tonight, most likely coming out tomorrow. Going to be doing a top 5 most anticipated Bucs games. Now the schedule is out and everything's official. I'm going to be doing a top 5 most anticipated games, just ranking them in terms of matchup, excitement, prime time, or not, whatever it may be. So, be on the lookout for that sometime soon.
Nothing gets the people going like a top 5 list. It's provocative. Gets people going.
It gets the people going.
Last but not least, you can find myself, Instagram and Twitter at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. But that's the show, folks. We will talk to you in the next one with some more Tampa Bay Buccaneer news. Be well, stay safe. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish. We'll talk to you in the next one. Until then, and as always, go Bucs.